was just 17 years old. Here's the great big story I was told. You got to go to college, get a job, then you'll spend your whole life making money. Gotta make that money, money. Gotta make that money. So I did exactly as I was told. I took out my loans and got enrolled. Now I owe the bank man all I got. It's a hell of a lot. So I spend my whole life making money. Gotta make that money, money. Gotta make that money, money. Gotta make that money, money. Gotta make that money. You're gonna spend your whole life trying to pay those big old piggies. Gotta make that money. It goes like this.
You gotta make that green stuff right. And if you can't make it,
lot of multimedia.
We're live.
All right. Thank you, Aaron, for all these neat graphics. This is the Permissionless Software Foundation's Technical Steering Committee. It is June 9th, 2021. And the purpose of this meeting is just to cover the technical aspects and accomplishments that we've achieved over the last couple weeks. Let's get started with a round of introductions. I'll start. My name is Chris Troutner. I helped found the PS Foundation, the Permissionless Software Foundation, with a few people, and I also manage fullstack.cash. Stoyan, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Stoyan Zhekov, and I'm helping with development of the JavaScript libraries for PCF, like PCH, GS, etc. It's all for me.
Right on. Daniel couldn't make it today. Aaron, I know you don't have a feed, but you're lurking in the background. You want to just give a brief introduction?
Yeah. My name's Aaron Shoemaker. Let me pop myself up real quick. Wrong one. My name's Aaron Shoemaker. I'm kind of running the producer role today as we're doing the talk, and I'll be talking as well. So we're just trying to up our game here at the PSF. So
that's looking pretty good.
Very, very professional.
All right, well, with that, let's go ahead and I'm going to share my screen and show the agenda. Oh, that's Telegram. There we go. This is the agenda for today. As always, you can find the agenda in the Permissionless Software Foundation GitHub group in the TSC, that stands for Technical Steering Committee repository, and then we file the agendas as issues. So all the old agendas are there. They're just, the issue's been closed, so they're archived, but everything's there. And so in our current stage of growth, these meetings are really all about celebrating the accomplishments that we've achieved in between the meetings. We have these meetings every 2 weeks. As we grow, we will eventually spin off work groups for specific things like NFT tokens or front end wallets or coin join protocols, things like that. And then these meetings will become an opportunity for those work groups to report in, but we're not there yet. And so let's take a look at what we've accomplished in the last couple of weeks as an organization. So I'll start with the PSF core software, and there's a link here if anybody wants to understand more deeply what I mean by PSF core software. But roughly, it's the cache stack. It's the BCH API, REST API, BCH.js JavaScript library, and the Gatsby IPFS web wallet, which is a front-end web wallet, which people can access at wallet.fullstack.cash. On fullstack.cash, we added a new section called "What Type of Developer Are You?" And it sort of breaks in the three different specialties. These apply generally to all languages, but they're particularly applicable to JavaScript. A lot of people start with front end and then they work into the back end, but the back end is really its own specialty. They typically separate, and then there's libraries like NPM libraries, and that's a bit of a specialty on its own. So the content in these sections are relatively there's not a lot there yet. I'm going to be adding more content over the next couple weeks, but the intent of these new sections is for developers to quickly find the tools that are of most interest to them, and come up to speed on them. So if you're a front end developer, you can go to the front end section. It's going to very quickly help you set up forkwallet.fullstack.cash and start customizing it for your own app. And if you're a back end developer, it's gonna walk you through the cache stack, how to set up full nodes and indexers, how to run some of the command line apps for sending transactions using the different blockchains. And then if you're a library developer, that section is going to cover a lot of the middleware libraries that we've developed, as well as testing practices and just best practices for library developers, and sort of our approach to it in fullstack.cash. Let's see, going back. And Aaron, Stoyan, if you guys have any comments, feel free to break in at any time. I encourage you to interrupt me.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Right on.
I'm liking what I'm seeing with everything. It's exciting to see. And here, I'll break in so people can see me now. I like the idea of the front end, the back end, the library. This is something we're talking about with this development program, and we are interested in people that want to learn crypto and learn and program it. So if you have some HTML knowledge, some CSS knowledge, and some JavaScript knowledge, please get in touch with us, because we'd like to talk with you. And we're going to be developing this program over the coming months and hope to launch it sometime in the fall is my hope. I don't know about you, Chris.
Yeah, I think all the dominoes are set up. We need to put a few more dominoes in place, and then I think around the fall we can let them fall.
And we do want to let you know, if you guys do feel like donating to us, there is a donation address that will go to burn some SLP tokens. That will help out the SLP token. And I think token liquidity is something we're talking about next. So
yeah, we'll be getting there. Real quick, let me just expand on some of these pages. And there we go.
Chewing ice in the microphone.
Okay.
That's a rookie mistake.
Sorry about that. I'm having a little trouble with my Zoom controls here. There we go. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. I keep accidentally muting myself. The front end page has a YouTube video that shows how to very quickly fork wallet.fullstack.cash and start building your own apps. And I'm planning to create another video to complement this one, specifically on our plugin architecture. The approach that we take with the front end wallet is anything that can be a plugin should be a plugin. It's very modular. like Lego blocks. And so right now, the basic information is there to get started with this. And I'm going to be fleshing this out with additional sort of live demos to demonstrate some of the apps that have already been built with this technology. And then there will be another section for plugins. And then we'll eventually have sort of like I'm not sure what the word would be, but like a trophy or an expose area where people can show off their plugins and their web apps that they build using this tech. The back end area focuses on that lower half of the cache stack, as well as some of the more command line based applications. And so it goes into a lot of that sort of what would be considered core infrastructure for building a cryptocurrency app. And then finally, the JavaScript library focuses, or the library section focuses on that middleware, which is typically JavaScript in this paradigm, and just covers some of the most important libraries. Right now, it calls out SLP Cli Wallet. The next library I'm going to get up there is Avex Cli Wallet. So it's the same exact interface, but one is on the Avalanche blockchain, one's on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. And we have a series of other libraries, one of which I'm going to talk about in a minute, like for calculating merit scores and doing end-to-end encryption. So anyways, that is what's new on fullstack.cash. So I really would love to get some feedback from people in the permissionless software Telegram channel. If you notice any typos or bugs or have suggestions, I'm all ears for this sort of stuff. And like I said, I'll be adding additional content in the next few weeks. Go ahead.
And that's at chat.fullstack.cash. You can see that down below. Or, sorry, fullstack.cash. I'm off today. So we're going to get to chat.fullstack.cash in a little bit. So, but if you guys look at the bottom of the screen, you can see the web address. Check it out. Please do get in touch with us. We really are interested in working with people in the community and developing these products.
Nice. Yeah. So next on the agenda is this. It's worth mentioning there's been several upgrades to the token liquidity app. We use the token liquidity app to maintain liquidity between the PSF token and Bitcoin Cash. And what we're preparing to do is launch the token liquidity app on the eCash blockchain as well as the Avalanche blockchain. And we're going to do this shortly after we launch our token bridge. So the idea is that you have one PSF token that you can transfer across blockchains and then exchange for the reserve currency on that blockchain. So you could take your PSF tokens from the Bitcoin Cash blockchain, transfer them to the Avalanche blockchain, and then exchange them for Avalanche, and also reverse the entire process. So we're not there yet, but the accomplishments we've achieved in the last couple of weeks is just better debugging and email alerts. We now have it set up where anyone who wants to set up a token liquidity app for their own token, everything you need to customize the app is in one file. It's a .env file, or env file, which lets you set all the environment variables to customize the app for your token. So if people are interested in launching the token liquidity app, I encourage you to play with it, check out that env file. And it's also now lets you set up email alerts, because we live in a messy world and things, we have hiccups like the network goes down briefly, or you hit rate limits, or, take your pick. When the token liquidity app runs into those kinds of issues, it will attempt to recover, but it will now also you can put like one or an array of email addresses for it to notify like administrators, like, hey, I'm running into trouble here, and you should probably take a look at me. So it's like a cry for help kind of thing. So pretty excited about that feature, and especially we're getting a lot more usage of the token liquidity app. So it's critical that its uptime is as high as possible and its ability to recover from these sort of everyday, type of network issues is as robust as possible.
Awesome.
The next thing on the agenda is the Fulcrum API. So this speaks again directly to the core PSF software. And if I bring up fullstack.cash, you'll see that there is this the cache stack, and one of this Electrum X block is the Fulcrum indexer. That's what provides address balances and UTXO information for an address. Those are like the two critical pieces of information that the indexer provides that the full node does not provide and is required to do any sort of wallet functionality. And when this was originally developed for Fulcrum, it has this sort of really weird way that it's networked. And as fullstack.cash increases its the volume, the quantity of API calls per day, as it increases, we need to scale horizontally. And we ran into an issue with scaling horizontally with the existing Fulcrum Docker container, the way it was built. So this is just some tweaks, and this is actually a really good segue into the next agenda item here. And we have created a new V5 route. V4 is the standard route that BCH.js uses and that everybody should be using right now because it's the only functional route. We created a new V5 route, and in the next week or two, we will start to transition BCH.js to this new V5 route. And there's two big changes to the V5 route. The first one is replacing the old Fulcrum calls with the new Fulcrum calls to Fulcrum API. So before, again, it helps to look at this cache stack. The REST API would call and talk to the Fulcrum indexer directly. Now what happens is the Fulcrum indexer is in its own Docker container, and it's orchestrated with a second Docker container that is a dedicated API. And so by that was the missing piece, is by combining a REST API with the Fulcrum indexer together in one package, we can now scale that horizontally. And it also fixes a few networking issues that we were having with with BCH API. So it's kind of a minor tweak. If you're using BCH.js, you won't even notice that anything changed. It's only if you're running BCH API is sort of a little tweak, and it did require a version change to the route. And the other big feature that we're adding is the double spend proof. So this is a new feature on the BCHN full nodes. There's a couple other full nodes that support it as well, but we mostly focus on whatever full node the miners run, which is BCHN. And this allows you to essentially, if someone tries to double spend, which is let's take a minute to talk about double spending here. Double spending is a very difficult thing to do. The full nodes have a natural ability to prevent double spends because new developers especially do it on accident all the time. If you try to spend a UTXO and then rapidly spend another UTXO, a lot of times that UTXO information, like I said, is coming from the indexer, and so it takes time, like 3 seconds, for the transaction to propagate around the network and for the indexer to update its state to the new UTXO. And so new developers, I see this happen all the time with new developers, where they'll rapidly try and spend transactions, and they won't give enough time. They won't give that extra like 2 seconds or 3 seconds for the indexer to update its state, and they'll end up it generates an accidental double spend. And what the full node will do is the full node knows what UTXOs are valid and which ones aren't, so it'll naturally throw an error when that happens. And so doing a double spend is not something that you can do easily. But if you're a malicious user and you have access to 2 nodes, you can do a double spend, because then you can bypass that natural protection in the full node and send the same try and spend the same UTXO in 2 separate transactions through 2 different full nodes. And so that's that's like a clearly malicious intent, and it happens. And so these double spend proofs, basically, as rare as they are, this is a step in the direction of making secure zero conf transactions. And so when a full node detects a double spend, it will generate a double spend proof. And this is the new feature that just went into the BCHN full node a few months ago. And there are no libraries that I'm aware of that leverage this new RPC call. So we're going to be breaking new ground here with BCH.js probably next week when we launch this, and it is live in BCH API right now. If you want to just interact with it directly. But so if you can manage to generate a double spend, and I have a script that I can share with people if they want to play with this, you have to have 2. Like, you can use a locally running copy of BCH API and then use the fullstack.cash API in order to spend. Like I said, you have to. It's a little tricky to spend, but I have a script that I can share to let people deliberately generate double spends. And what you'll see is one of them will return a value from this RPC call, which is the proof saying, like, this is not a valid transaction. This is the double spend. Like, the full node will decide which one is legitimate and which one is not legitimate. And so the use case here, so that I probably should have started with the use case rather than going right into the technical things. So the canonical use case here is you go to buy a coffee, or probably more something more expensive, because double spend proofs or double spending is not very easy to pull off. But or actually, I think a good example is the token liquidity app. Right now, the token liquidity app waits 1 or 2 confirmations, depending on the situation, before it will send the tokens. And so if we incorporate this double spend proof, we can return the tokens after about 5 seconds, where the app would see the Bitcoin Cash come in, and then it would wait 5 seconds, and then it would query the full node to see if this transaction triggered a double spend proof. And if it did not, it's pretty safe at that point. It's about 99% confidence that it's not a double spend, and it can be processed right away, and that it will get confirmed into a block. And then if it does trigger a double spend proof, well, then the app can safely ignore it, possibly blacklist that address. But that's the idea. It's like, if you ask anybody, they'll tell you maybe somewhere between 3 and 5 seconds. But just to be safe, I'm going to call it 5 seconds. But within about 5 seconds, there was some research done by Peter Risen on how probable is it for a double spend to get confirmed in a block. And after about 5 seconds, the transaction is propagated around the world across the full network. And so a double spend after that is probably not going to succeed. And so anyways, that's the idea. I don't know if this is like the silver bullet to make secure zero conf. There's a lot of doubt about that, but this is a new feature. It will probably work 90% of the time or more, probably more than 90, but it'll probably cover 90% of the use cases. So it's definitely something that I'm excited to support, and I'm excited to see. We just need to start playing with it, and sort of, if there is a security issue with these, we need to just start exploring that, and we need to sort of open the door in little ways to malicious actors to try and really put this to the test. That's just sort of where the network is at right now. So we're going to see. So it's a big warning. Like, this is cool tech. It's also brand new. No, everyone should not start doing zero conf assuming that this is secure. But if you're a developer, this is an excellent time to start playing with this endpoint and this new tech.
You heard them, people. All you hackers and malicious actors out there, come on down and play with our tech and see if you can break it. And so what you're talking about here is getting us closer to that goal of zero confirmation, essentially, and which would help because I mean, you're a retailer, say you run things wrong, you know, you could double spend somebody's coins. That wouldn't necessarily be a malicious thing, but I could see retailers firing that off really quickly. I've had people run my cards twice in less than that time, and you know, that would help to not be able to do that, and it would help to secure against malicious actors as well. So this is pretty cool tech, Chris.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out. I'm cautiously optimistic. You know, in the case of like buying a coffee, you're not like you're really just doing one transaction, and you know, someone's not going to exploit that. I think that's like a perfect application for this technology. In the case of the token liquidity app, you know, that's more of an automated app. So if someone found an exploit, they could just be sitting there running the exploit, and we wouldn't really know unless we, you know, got an email from the app or checked on it. And so that's why I'm probably not going to implement this right away into something like the token liquidity app. So people have to be really careful about the use case.
Yeah, totally. So we welcome anybody to come and work on this stuff. Once again, our doors are open. We want to talk to you. So give us a call. Hit us up on Telegram. Stoyan, you got any words on this?
No, I would try, definitely. So
Awesome.
waiting with big impatience to have something to try.
Yeah, and like I said, anybody who wants to deliberately generate a double spend, I have a script that you can run to do that, so that you can try out this new endpoint and just sort of see the kind of output that it gives you when it does detect the double spend.
Yeah, I'd like to try that out. So, you know, send it my way. I might be able to try it out this weekend at some point.
Yeah, I'll drop the link in the Permissionless Software Foundation Telegram channel.
Right on, right on. What's next on the agenda here?
Yeah, so that wraps up the core software updates. The JSON RPC over IPFS and the pay to write database. These are some ongoing areas of research that I've been engaged in along with Daniel, who couldn't make it today. This is actually up on chat.fullstack.cash if anybody wants to play with it. And what it is it's a peer-to-peer database, and right now there's only one of them. I just discovered a bug today. I was trying to replicate the data, but the whole idea behind it is it's supposed to be peer-to-peer. So like a blockchain, everyone can run their own instance of the database. And in order to write to the database, you have to submit a proof of burn. So you burn a token, and the other update on this is that it now works with PSF tokens. So in order to be allowed to write up to 10 kilobytes of data to the database, you have to burn 0.01 PSF tokens and then submit the transaction ID for that burn transaction, and that's your ticket to be allowed to write to the database. And every instance of the database will independently verify that burn by going to the blockchain and verifying that it's a legitimate transaction. And so I'm really excited about this tech because it's got very similar qualities to a blockchain, but there's no mining involved, and it's any community can essentially rapidly set up a database. And this also solves what I see to be a very long-term problem with blockchains in general, but particularly Bitcoin Cash, in that there's this tension between data and cash use cases. And so this is a way to get the data off the chain and optimize exclusively for the cash use case. So this is a problem way down the line, and not everybody agrees with me that this is a problem, but I'm excited to see all the different, you know, types of use cases that this opens up. So if anybody who wants to play with it, it is up on chat.fullstack.cash. I have a link here to the JSON RPC documentation. So just to give a quick show of, if you go to chat.fullstack.cash, give it a few minutes, you'll see the P2W DB entry come up, and then you can click on it and start a private chat with it. And you can send it a couple of these really simple JSON RPC commands. So just copy and paste that into the chat, and that will instruct the app to tell you about itself. And then you can also do this read all, just copy and paste, and the app will do a data dump and display all the data that's in the database. It's only like 2 or 3 entries right now. So it's at a place where people can very tentatively start dipping their toe in the water and playing with it. And like I said, there is a bug right now. If you try to replicate, it won't replicate properly, or at least there's something weird going on there.
There's
that I'm
always
trying
a
to
bug.
dig into.
There's always a bug.
This is research. It's all ongoing research.
Yeah. So, tell me, I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about this this data problem with the blockchain, because I'm seeing the same things as you. You know, there's this concern about writing data to the blockchain, and I do like this idea of pay to write. You can run your own database, that sort of thing. So one of my questions is definitely, if you could expand upon a little bit the problem with writing data to the blockchain, and 2, this idea of pay to write databases, could this help lead towards things like decentralized VPNs?
Decentralized VPNs is definitely a possibility. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the pay-to-write database. One of the things, this pay-to-write database rides on top of the JSON RPC over IPFS.
Yeah.
And that technology, that can enable decentralized VPNs. That could allow your computer to talk to a VPN service and on the fly negotiate the VPN service and pay for it. And you'd be able to do that with any computer in the world, and it would eliminate all the sort of networking headache that is typically associated with that.
Yeah.
And so there's 2 technologies here. There's the JSON RPC over IPFS, which is a replacement for the REST API, and overcomes a lot of the censorship issues that a REST API could be blocked by. And then there's this pay-to-write database, which is really just a solution to this data the on-chain data problem, getting data off-chain.
Well, I see other things for the pay-to-write. Say I'm a manufacturing company, right? There's a big push for manufacturing companies to move to VPNs. The problem being a lot of the networking they would use or the cloud services are run by big companies like Amazon and Google. Now, if I am I have intellectual property and I'm this manufacturing company, and, I make widgets, classic economics example, and I've got a trade secret on the widgets and stuff like that, I'm a little hesitant to utilize VPNs, because I don't know if Amazon or Google are going to come and take some of that information, even if they say they're not. The other thing where I see the pay-to-write working in industries like that is my employees can't just go and change stuff all the time. And if they do change stuff, I have a good track record, because what you're saying is I could set up a database as a manufacturing company. I could create my own tokens that work within my company. And in order to write to the database, my employees would have to burn those tokens, giving both a record of who did it, when it was done, and then I know that it's securely written to my database. Then combining that with this JSON over RPC to create these virtual private networks, we could create huge, fast databases where we don't have to have the warehouses of servers or the tech headaches that come today. So those are 2 problems in industries like manufacturing industries, where you have trade secrets or intellectual property, where I could see this solving. Because if I'm them, I'm going, I'm not so sure I want to use Amazon. Who's to say that somebody in Amazon, this is a big company. I'm not saying everybody's bad in Amazon, but who's to say a malicious actor in Amazon isn't going to hack into my VPN and steal information that's valuable to my company and sell it to my competitors, right? And being able to
that's a good tee up.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's a good tee up for some of the problems that it solves, because what this solves is a bunch of small problems, but when you add them all up, they become a big problem. And so there's a lot of interest right now around using the blockchain to record data, and people are starting to wise up that, like, okay, well, clearly it's starting to become just well accepted that putting the actual content on the blockchain is a bad idea. But what we can do is encrypt the data, upload it to IPFS, and then just write the hash to the blockchain. That's a much more efficient way to do the same thing. And so people are starting to get up on that. But even if that was to achieve mass adoption, even that efficient way of doing it would still, like, incredibly bloat the size of the blockchain. And that's not necessarily a problem to some people, because it's just the size of the blockchain. It doesn't affect the actual, like, transaction capability. Once you get a full node synced, and people think, like, oh, I can buy $100 hard drive, 4 terabyte hard drive from Amazon, and, like, what's the problem, right? Well, the problem, there's a couple problems. The first problem is the IBD, or initial block download. When you sync a full node and bring it to the network for the first time, you have to download and process all the data that's ever been put on the blockchain ever. And that's the big it's not the amount of storage space it takes on the hard drive that's the problem. It's the amount of time it takes a full node to sync up to the current tip of the chain. That's
just like 15 minutes, right, Chris? That's just 15 minutes.
Yeah,
now, give us an idea about how long it takes right now.
I have my own solution, so I haven't had to do it in a long time, and it also is greatly dependent on your hardware and your network speed. So if you have, like, a fiber optic connection with the top of the line hardware, it might only take 2 or 3 days. But if you're a normal person on a normal home internet connection with a normal laptop, it's probably going to take you 2 or 3 weeks.
That's 2 to 3 days for top of the line, people. 2 to 3 days. And so we are looking at solutions. And you have a solution. You mentioned it. What's your solution that you have right now, Chris?
Yeah, so we have the cash strap page on Fullstack. So it's fullstack.cash /cash strap, and it's a play on the word bootstrap. And so what they are is, instead of it's a sort of like a trusted setup, where instead of the untrusted setup where you start from Genesis and you sync from Genesis, you can actually download from the cash strap page over IPFS a pre-synced blockchain. And so then you just have to sync from whenever that snapshot was to the head, but it's still 150 gigabyte download. So you have to download it, you have to unzip it, and then mount it with the Docker container, and then sync from where that snapshot was. So it reduces that time down to 2 or 3 hours, depending on your hardware. But that's might be okay. In the case of fullstack.cash, we're spinning up and spinning down infrastructure for people. So that's actually an onerous amount of time to be able to do that.
Look, I'm running a Chromebook with a dial-up connection here. It'll take me no time. All right.
Right. Right. You're right. Exactly.
Okay. So, can I just say also on the topic? I think the problems that Aaron was talking about, and these tools a little, how to say, not exactly about the privacy and encryption, because how to see, the problem that you have with Amazon, you can make end-to-end encryption, but this is not the point of this JSON RPCs. It's more about to not have a central point. So
Yeah.
If how to say, you don't go to the big company, you can use thousands of small companies which providing similar services. Go from how to say do through any of them and do the same job.
Hmm.
Well,
And about
yeah.
the pay to this data, keeping data off chain, VC keeping data on chain. We was talking about this from long time, and imagine you can huge like brick, not brick, like panel, concrete panel, and you need to transport it from the factory to your house. So one way is to make it extremely fast. So you destroy it on small pieces and start going with your Porsche,
Hmm.
and going to your house and start to combine it again to become a panel.
Hmm.
Or you can get a truck. So the people trying how to see to put small pieces of data inside like many transactions just to save them on chain,
Mhm.
which is well, okay, but not so good solution.
Hmm.
And then can be something off chain, like this example, this,
Hmm.
for example, pay to write database, IPFS, anything, where you can keep all of your data in secure way. Like secure mean
Hmm.
unchangeable, mutable, what else? So it's
Hmm.
more about this kind of stuff than more about the encrypted connections or
Yeah.
privacy or stuff like this one.
I
Yeah,
love I
yeah.
love
And
that
you know, we
analogy. I love that analogy, Stoyan.
that is a good analogy.
Breaking it apart into little pieces. I love that you're taking a Porsche though, you know, with all your cement pieces.
Yeah, because you want it fast, right?
You're gonna get
And
cement all over your
everybody's
leather though. Gonna scratch up the leather.
but I mean, it will be fast, right? But it
Yeah.
will be like, really, you will do this one? But the
Yeah.
people really trying to do this with the data on the blockchain. We was talking about putting the how to see the huge images on the blockchain. So well, they will destroy the image on the small op return 200 byte transaction, put them on chain, and after this, they will need to again make the whole picture from this stuff.
Yeah,
So
all
I,
these little pieces.
yeah, and I know that the people who are like want to make a fast payments, they're pissed off from this one. Really, I will just need to pass 2 gigabytes of transactions with like images, just so my like payment transaction can go.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
very long going
S-
discussion, and I think yeah, it will continue maybe until we find some good solutions.
So there's a half a dozen little infrastructural issues that I think that this architecture solves, but I think the new applications that it opens are much sexier. So just to talk about those for a minute.
How
One of
sexy.
the Oh yeah, well get ready. One of the ways I hope to see this database used in the future as a cross blockchain communication medium and a cross blockchain token medium. So right now, the proof of burn is a TXID on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. But what I plan to do in the future, once we get the actual database part, working really well, is create interfaces for other blockchains. So we already have plans to have the PSF token on the Bitcoin Cash, eCash, and Avalanche blockchains, and probably the Lotus blockchain too. And so you'll be able to burn a PSF token as proof of burn on any of those blockchains to write to the one peer-to-peer database. And so what that lets you do is you can burn a token on one chain to upload some content, and then read that content from any other chain on chain, and upload data from the other chain. So it will allow blockchains to communicate across chain. And I've actually had a short conversation with Andrew Stone from BU about how this could be used to set up oracles, the cross chain oracles. And so
Very cool.
that's a mind blow right there. But
Yeah.
before we go too deep into those weeds, the other application that I'm hoping to see on this is I'd like to port the SLP token specification to the database, so that the tokens, rather than being on a blockchain, actually live in the database. So then you'll have a cross blockchain token standard. So it doesn't matter which blockchain you're on, you're going to be interacting with the same token. And that would essentially let businesses create their own token, and then they just don't even have to think about the blockchain. They don't even have to think about which blockchain they're on. They'll just use whichever one is the most convenient at that moment. And if there's a problem with that blockchain, they'll have other blockchains, and they can just seamlessly switch over to these other blockchains.
Dude, you told me it was sexy. You did not tell me it was 91 Pamela Anderson sexy. That's pretty
we are
awesome.
geeks, so it's
Dude, that is pretty cool. And so being able to move between blockchains for people that don't know about this, which if you're watching this, I don't know why you don't know, but if you don't know, this is a great thing that we've been trying to work on in the space for a long time. And I like the idea that it can be used as an oracle. That's awesome. And people can write to it from many different chains. I mean, the applications are going to be huge in this sort of thing. So it's exciting.
And those are the sort of techno, intense stuff. But the more simpler use cases is just uncensorable Craigslist. Like you can't. It's the reason why Craigslist doesn't exist on the blockchain is because it's hard to put all that data on the blockchain. But something like this makes that use case much more practical.
Yeah, that's awesome. Stoyan, you got thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's very cool. We thought, I think, about this the previous technical meeting also about it's pretty hot topic now, storage for NFTs, for example. Everybody wants to have media stored somewhere, so everybody's racing now to make something good. So I think it will be very used service.
Yeah. And actually, so it's worth talking about that storage thing. So this is still an evolving idea, but one advantage that this peer-to-peer database has over a standard blockchain is that it can be backed up to Filecoin because it's on the IPFS network. So rather than having one database that continually grows year after year, I haven't had a chance to really fully explore this idea, but I'm leaning towards we would sunset the database every year. So probably like in when does Q3 start? Like it's December, November, October. So probably like October 1st, we'd start the next year's blockchain, and it would kind of overlap the previous year's blockchain. And then on January, we'd sunset the old blockchain, back it up to Filecoin. Anybody who wants to access an archival copy, that could be like a separate paid service, but that would keep the blockchain from growing too big in any one calendar year to be onerous to have. That would, the smaller we can make it, the better that is for decentralization and censorship resistance. But we have the ability at any point in time, anyone has the ability at any point in time to push the database onto the Filecoin and back it up. And so that's a feature that blockchains don't have.
It will be interesting to do. I think the hard drive guys, what is they doing is depends from how much tokens you burn. It will depends how long it will keep your information. So now you're talking sunsetting every year. But it will be interesting. For example, there is the people who are interested their data to be there for a month, for example, for some hackathon or something. They don't want to pay much, but other guys, they want to be there for 100 years. So yeah, just if they pay more, they will be there more.
Yeah,
so
I'm really excited.
More flexible, to not have a scheduled backup, but depends from the burned tokens.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm excited to get to the point where we can explore that more fully. and get a better idea of like what the costs are. Because I have a feeling that yeah, I mean, just the costs around this are totally different than it would be for a blockchain. And right now, just because I had to pick a number, I picked 10,000 bytes or 10 kilobytes and 0.01 PSF tokens. I have no idea if those are the right numbers. We'll discover what the right number is as we move along. But yeah, I like the idea of time-based payments, like kind of like Filecoin does it.
You know, Stoyan, you inspire me to think of the Queen song, "Who Wants Their Data Forever?"
Mhm. Yeah, because how to say,
horrible dad joke.
if you know the Volvo commercials, your car will live even if you die. So it can be same. Your data will be live there forever. So yeah, just pay us enough to keep it.
God, I'm sorry for the horrible dad joke there. I just had to make it. So, all right. Next.
Yeah, there's just a couple more things on the agenda here.
Yes.
The merit calculation is worth mentioning. I have a link to the pull request for anybody who wants to check into it. But one of our members discovered, I don't know if it's a bug is the right word, but an undesirable way that merit was being calculated when, and it happened when he moved from Electron Cash Wallet into message.fullstack.cash. So the merit calculation, which is very important because your merit is what governs.
Sorry, little bug.
No worries. The merit calculation is what essentially determines how much influence you have on the governance of the PSF. And so that's why people who take the governance a little more seriously are concerned about how the merit is calculated. I'd love to get more feedback on this because it as I dug into it, it seemed like there was a lot of different ways to do it. Essentially, so the idea behind the merit is it's a very simple idea. You take the quantity of tokens multiplied by the age of the tokens in days, and that's your merit score. However, if you say pay someone in PSF tokens, that's going to reset the clock to 0, and that's undesirable. We want to be able to have people sort of simultaneously stake tokens and be able to spend tokens, as long as they're sort of spending and replacing. And so what it does instead is it follows the parent UTXOs to the oldest one it can find that originated from the same address. So as long as the tokens stayed in that address or are from that address, they got spent but returned back to that address. That's how we're sort of calculating the age, is it's based on the oldest parent from that address. Now, the problem arose when you had multiple token UTXOs that got combined into one. And there's an example of a transaction here I can actually show on the screen. I don't know if people can see that right now, Aaron.
Let me take you guys off because give me 1 second.
What is this spinning stuff on the Explorer from some days?
You know, the Explorer's not in a healthy place right now, the Bitcoin.com Explorer. I'm actually like really thinking about whether or not we should build our own token Explorer. Just because it seems like a lot of support is going away for SLP tokens, or the ones that everybody's used, Bitcoin.com and Simple Ledger, are starting to cut back. So it might be a good idea for us to build our own block Explorer.
Yeah.
But anyways, this is an example of the transaction I'm talking about, where on the left you have 3 token inputs being merged into a single transaction. So in this transaction, you had 3 token UTXOs being merged. And so the question is, which UTXO parent chain do you follow? And so the code tweak I made is it follows the oldest one. It'll look at each one and figure out which one is the oldest, and then follow that chain of parents. And I think that's pretty accurate. I've tried to think through the sort of attack vectors here, and I'm a little worried I might not have thought of everything. But if anyone is inclined to follow this link to the pull request and look at the code and how I calculated it, and I left some notes in there, I'd love feedback, and I'd love to hash this out. And I have a feeling like this is something that's going to come back to haunt us in the future, in terms of different ways this could be done and different attacks, particularly as this organization grows and the people are more and more concerned with how the merit's calculated. I have a feeling this is going to come back to haunt us. So if we can address this sooner rather than later, that would be great. So if anybody wants to look at that and give me feedback, I would be incredibly appreciative. Like I said, there's multiple ways to do it, and the potential attack vectors are really what determine the right way to do it. And so I think I've tried to hit on the simplest, most effective way to do it while minimizing attack vectors. But if somebody thinks of something that they don't think I've thought of, or has a suggestion on a different way to do the calculation, some of these calculations can be incredibly complex, or they can be incredibly simple, and it just sort of depends on what you're trying to achieve.
Right on. So right now we're seeing a problem with the SLP stuff, which is really unfortunate because it's awesome technology. Let me
I'm going to go ahead and stop
story.
sharing my screen there, Aaron. I think we can jump into the roundtable.
All right.
Portion.
Sounds good.
Okay, there we go.
All right, let me switch back to the main window here, and all right, there we go.
Now you got to come in as our little DJ.
Yeah, let me pull myself in here. There I am. What's up, everybody? Transition.
There you are. There you are.
So, yeah, I'm sitting right under Stoyan's chin right now. So
Yes. No, I will.
The mini-me.
Just a second
Yeah.
to
just
make you
massage my
Mickey
head.
Mouse. Yeah. No, I cannot.
Yeah, I'll just come up a little bit here.
Okay, my boy.
Yeah, bear with our
There you go. That looks better.
yeah, everybody online, bear with our technical hurdles here, where we're learning the best way to do this sort of thing. So, all right. So yeah, SLP. I didn't know that the databases, the explorers are not working as well anymore. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. I think that this community, the PSF, we have an opportunity to really step up in a big way. For those who know my background, they know that I used to work at Bitcoin.com on the rest.bitcoin.com and developer.bitcoin.com platforms, and that's what originally started the fullstack.cash, and I had a hand in the creation of the SLP token protocol while I was there, and they are starting to shut that platform down, rest.bitcoin.com, and they're forwarding people onto fullstack.cash. So that's been a big driver in our growth recently, and it does seem that they are struggling with the SLP infrastructure with the block explorer, and at the same time, simple ledger.info. Yeah, no worries. At the same time, simpleledger.info.
I don't know why it's doing that.
It's all good. The company who actually started the Simple Ledger protocol, like James Kramer, they're also starting to wind down some of their infrastructure, and they still have a really great block explorer at simpleledger.info, and it appears to be fully functional. And it falls over occasionally, but so does the Bitcoin.com block explorer. And I'm really proud of how reliable wallet.fullstack.cash has been operating. I think we've really nailed our ability to scale our infrastructure. I'd love to see us 10x our API volume so that we could really put that to the test. I think we're ready to do that. But if we built a block explorer, we could have that reliability that I think people would appreciate. and then we'd have to kind of think about, well, how do we monetize that so that it's not just a total loss leader. One thought I had is we could sell advertising, and then that advertising money could go to burn tokens. That would be one really easy way to monetize a block explorer. So the goal there is to provide reliable infrastructure for the community, but we also need to find a way for it to pay for itself.
Mm-hmm. So anybody that has any ideas, we are all ears if you want to reach out to us. I mean, it's not something where we could use the token burn idea, but just less of a token in order to search, is it?
I don't really see how that. It would just be the people who would use the block explorer are definitely not always developers. I mean, developers would use it heavily, but they would probably be a small proportion.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would be appropriate to assume that a user of the block explorer would know how to like send a payment.
Yeah. So when people are using the block explorers, is it mainly to look up that transactions have happened and look at the genesis of the tokens, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, as a developer, I use it heavily just to sort of analyze the transaction and see if it was valid or not. And then if it was valid, like in that transaction I was just showing a minute ago, that provides a lot of information. Like, oh, there were 3 token UTXOs on the input and 2 on the output, and as a debugging tool. But I think that's probably the minimum, like the most popular use of the block explorer would be just by normal people sort of looking to see if a transaction had confirmed, and just basic information like how many tokens were involved, how much Bitcoin Cash was involved, what were the inputs, what were the outputs, what were the transaction fees, just all the details that anybody would want to look at when they're using it as money.
Yeah.
It's Explorer is very cool too. You can see, like, for example, you can see your paper wallets there, how much token you have there. You can see also, for example, if you have many devices with different wallets, you can check them daily from one place without any time putting your mobile, you putting there your PIN and everything. You just go to the link, bam, you can see your balance, everything. And yeah, like Chris mentioned, it's very useful to see if some transaction is already like go from your wallet to the blockchain. So do you have problems with your wallet software, or it's like the receiver or somewhere? It's great to see how the money going through one place to another. So yeah, Explorer is very, I'm using it daily, like very frequently.
I use it hourly. Yeah. The other opportunity we have here is, as we continue to explore cross blockchain transactions, and we're already starting to invest in our own Avalanche infrastructure. And as we employ the bridge more and more to transfer tokens across blockchains, that's a really unique use case that the block explorers that exist now will not be able to handle. And so if we had our own block explorer, we could add those types of features to help, the same sort of use cases of block explorers use today for debugging and just checking on things. We could actually track these cross blockchain transfers and help people sort of debug that whole use case.
Now, let me ask this. Where do the main costs come in maintaining this Explorer if we were to set one up? Where would those be? Would it be in paying the developers to maintain it? Would it be in the hardware that we need to run it? What does that look like?
I think the majority of the cost would be in the development and maintenance. I think the hardware infrastructure would be essentially a fixed cost. It wouldn't be zero, but it'd probably be like less than $1,000 a month. I'm assuming like if we had, 1 million users, let's say we had a million users a day, our infrastructure cost would probably be less than $1,000 a month. And but it would probably require a full-time developer just to get feedback, incorporate feedback, fix bugs.
So
That's probably what it would take.
This sounds like a great thing for that tier 2 of the development program we're talking about to handle.
Quite possible.
Because that tier is supposed to be there for maintenance stuff, and so this could be a great opportunity to implement those people as maintenance for that sort of thing, and maybe help to alleviate some of those costs in the long run.
Yeah. I don't think we want to do anything, actionable right now, but I just kind of wanted to bring it up as something to think about. And I totally agree with you that the right fit there might be with our new certification program.
Yeah. So that's cool. I think we definitely need to look at that and keep that in mind. Stoyan, you have any comments on that?
Yeah, it's good. Explorer is one of the, very needed tools. So, and about the monetizations, it can be done more like the wallet fullstack.cash with more plugins. For example, you can have plugins for parsing the op return data for different protocols. For example, if you pay more, we'll parse the memo.cache op returns, so you can see the messages there, or you can parse this kind of op returns. So it can be more like with pluggable architecture, so we can charge more for the more feature. The basic one is free, but if you want more, pay.
Yeah, doing a tiered approach, that's a good idea. But I really like what you said about the processing the op returns. The Bitcoin.com block explorer does that with memo.cache transactions. It'll sort of take out the low level stuff and just present it as a memo.cache tweet. And then of course it does that with SLP tokens. It automatically decodes all the protocol level stuff and just displays the nice token information. And that's where I think we could really excel with our cross blockchain stuff, because there's nothing like that on the Avalanche chain, but they do have a memo field. And so ideas like the Locat ID that exist in Bitcoin Cash, which is a really handy way to automatically detect different protocols using the op return, or like your BCP.js protocol, it'd be really easy to incorporate that. And I like your idea of plugins. If we built a basic, like sort of just a bare bones block explorer, and then took the same plugin approach, we could just let anybody who cares about their protocol, like, okay, yeah, make a plugin, give us a plugin, and now all of a sudden your protocol will automatically get decoded when someone looks at a transaction using your protocol.
Yes. It will satisfy the people who are cared just about the payment. So they will just see on the BCH transactions. They don't care about the SLP. Okay, use this one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, divide. I think you guys are onto something with dividing things up and letting people do piecemeal. And I think we've used that analogy of, we're going to make the French fries, somebody else is going to make the milkshake, somebody else is going to make the burger, and being able to piece together your meal. And I think that's really going to help, because I see a huge use case for these tokens in like retail stores, right? Here's a way they can make and track discount tokens, right? And they can even do fun stuff where they can, like geodrop.cash, or I've thought of ways like I do 360 stuff, and so you got a store tour. Like I think stores are going to move to this more, and I'm pushing stores this way where I go in and I photograph your store, and then all the objects in the store can be clicked on, looked at in 360, and then you can put them in your basket. But how cool would it be to, in that 360 environment, whether you're in a VR headset or you're on a desktop or a mobile, you click in a random spot and up pops discount tokens for the day, you know, and then they can set how many come from that particular token fountain. And then when you go to cash out or pay, those tokens would be factored into how much you're paying. And whether you're paying fiat or, I think it would be nice eventually to where, okay, I've got wine tokens and it gives me a 10% discount, and that's factored in with the BCH or the eCash for the total transaction, and then they create a QR and I send the money to them. It'd be really cool. But what I'm saying about these guys is that's more low level stuff. They don't need to buy that higher level stuff. So being able to divide that up is going to help us hit a lot bigger market than if we just say, you know, it's free or we got a huge cost use case, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of food for thought here. We're getting a little late, so we should wrap this up. But before we do, Stoyan, I wanted to get your thoughts on next steps for building a plugin for NFTs for wallet.fullstack.cash. You've given us some demos in the past of your BCP library and how it can automatically like decode an NFT transaction and then display the media. And I'd love to create a bounty for you to push forward with a wallet plugin if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, if I can share my screen, and if we have 10 minutes, I can show you what I'm doing and what are my next steps.
Yeah, you
Yes.
should be able to share if Aaron can handle it.
Yep. Let me switch this over 1 second, and then.
Do you see this?
And then just make sure, Stoyan, that you let Aaron know before you stop sharing your screen. He has to do something on his end.
Okay.
That'll be cleaned up for next week.
Okay. So maybe if I can zoom a little. So I already started working on this stuff. So I make a very small wrapper around the BCH GS because, like we told the previous time, it's good if we can do something with our current wallets, like this minimal wallet and the SOP client one, but they're very difficult to extend because they're like they're made to be like get from the web. You cannot import them and extend them. So I decided to do something with BCH JS, and I created a very simple wrapper. So you can, how to see, import this library, and it will mount the usual BCH JS on this BCH namespace, and you can like alias it's like this one. So inside your rest of your code, you can use it the same like until now, just like this one. But what is else doing this simple wrapper? It's adding one new namespace NFT, so you can have some like BCH GS.NFT and some functions, some methods. And I already created methods, and I'm using this new course utxo.get to do the stuff. So I wanted to explore this one. So I already have a create NFT group, and I have a mint NFT group. I have sent NFT token. I have this one is part of the create NFT child. So everything is already up and running.
This is great. And you just need a graphical interface.
Yeah, and I also tried to make it more simple to create this kind of NFT transactions. If you can see, my usage of this transaction builder is a little different. So
Yeah,
you just create array with outputs, array with inputs. You pass this to this construct X, and it's creating the transaction.
I
So
love
in
that.
this way, I can, for example, pretty simple. It is pretty simple to add here one more like output to be the BCP one.
Hmm.
So because before doing the graphical stuff, we don't have still a easy way to create this kind of BCP like based NFTs. So I wanted to do more first to have it like a command line interface.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's just it. You could take this library and plug it right into SLP Cli Wallet,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that would let you get all the functionality working.
Yeah.
And then
Plus
literally the
NFTs.
only thing to do is build a graphical interface at that point.
Yeah. And about the graphical interface, I was researching different stuff. And what was interesting, I found several projects which have interesting approach. They creating something like a ready components, React components, to show the standard NFTs. Like for Ethereum, so it's this their idea about the NFTs, this 721. But it's interesting to have a, a
Oh,
ready React component. Like I already done this for
wow.
my NFT checker, so it's very easy to put it inside like this one. Uh, like just a second. It's not the but I mean, if it's ready component, you can just include it after this in the plugin for the wallet.foo.stack.cash or somewhere else,
Hmm.
and it will show the NFT. So if it have BCP, it will show the media based on this BCP, or it can directly get the the URL from the document URL,
Hmm.
but it will be the ready like React component. So you just put it inside your JavaScript code, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a wonderful way to architect this. Would be build the React component, like you said, and then the plugin would really just be a
Plugin, yeah,
wrapper
but
for that
because it
React
will have
component.
only the styling and stuff like this one,
Hmm.
but it will be more. We can continue develop them independently. Like for example,
Right.
this React component, it will change time because we will have another standards and everything, but
Hmm.
the styling will be still here. We will have this Gatsby component,
Hmm. Hmm.
and below this it can be some wrapper like this one to make the NFT functions.
Hmm.
So this one can be pretty much given to different people to develop them. Like for example, good designers can do great job, better than me in the like styling and everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a big reason for doing the plugin centric architecture, is just
Yeah.
because I just want to focus on base functionality, and then I'll let somebody else worry about making it pretty. Yeah, that's a great approach. And so it seems to me like there's really two plugins here. One is displaying the NFTs,
Mhm.
and then one is creating the NFTs.
Yes, yes.
And so two very different things, but it looks like you got them both covered here.
Yeah, this one is maybe not part of the Gatsby idea, but I mean, I in the moment cannot create NFTs with BCP easy.
Hmm.
Until
Hmm.
now, I was doing some like crafts with this how to say electron cache to
Hmm.
put this op return on stuff. But if we have an easy way to do this with SOP client wallet, for example, the command line one, it will be
Hmm.
great. Just put there the like I don't know something, and you have ready NFT.
Yeah, I'd love to see a pull request
Yeah.
to add some new commands to that for this. And on the topic of the way you're injecting BCHJS in this,
Mhm.
you're like so close to the way I'm doing it with. If you look at BCH message lib, and I can send you links to this, and the
Okay.
BCH encrypt lib, it does almost the same thing you're doing here, except it injects BCHJS as a dependency at runtime, and so that makes the libraries like really small because they don't have a redundant copy of BCHJS. They expect you to like inject BCHJS into them at runtime,
Okay. Yeah,
and that
I'll
just
take a
keeps the
look.
library really small.
Okay. This will
But
be
but
great.
I mean, you basically got the same idea here.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm working on this already, with or without bounty. So
That's great. I love the initiative, and I
Very
definitely
cool.
want to reward you in PSF tokens. If you know, yeah, like because you're doing great work here. We're gonna use it. We're gonna use it, whether or not you want it, but we're gonna use it.
it's free software, open source. It's here. So yeah, everybody is free
cool.
to use it.
Well, I need to put you in touch with Andre Cabrera, who is he helped me with the initial architecture of our plugin for the wallet, and he was just mentioned the other day that he might be building a plugin for creating regular SLP tokens, and so there's definitely going to be some overlap there with if we create a plugin for creating NFT tokens. So we should definitely collaborate on that, just so you know, figure out how to leverage one another's code.
Can I already stop this sharing, or
Yep.
you want to see something else?
If you want to share again, just I can transition back. There we
This
go.
one is interesting. If you see interactive NFTs, this beyond NFT.io guys, they putting code inside NFTs. It's a zip archive with HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript. So when you purchase some NFT, you will have a program inside, which is interactive, like
That's
Hangman
cool.
NFT
That's cool.
or something.
Wow.
This is great. I've been waiting to see an example of this. I've heard about this in theory, but I haven't actually seen it in practice. I'm going to play with this because it was the last meeting that we had. You were telling me about the hackathon and all those, and they were talking about how you could embed NFTs within NFTs, and execute code payloads, and wow, so this is cool. This is heavy stuff.
Cool.
They have
Very
another
cool.
also interactive NFTs where like sound. There was on Twitter. I will send you maybe link, but in fact you can send the NFT parameters in real time. So it's again some program, but it have like an open a way to send them different parameters. So for example, it can modulate from your voice. It will show different like visualization based on the voice or the music or something, but it's NFT.
Wow. So you could have like a program that just does a slight tweak to the audio, and then that would be an NFT. Like you could sell that little software program as an NFT.
I mean, it will react on the environment. So cool. It's NFT, immutable, but it still reacts to something, voice or I don't know, light, environments. I don't know. So it's great. Some very, very cool stuff is going in this area.
Yeah. This is cool. I love the Hangman idea. I can't wait to play with this.
Okay. I will stop sharing. Is it okay?
You're all good.
Okay. So
we're back to our main screen now.
Yeah.
That's cool. You never disappoint, Stoyan. I appreciate all the bloodhounding that you do with these NFT ideas, because I do not have the time to follow the space, and so I'm so happy to get your little brain dumps every couple of weeks.
Yeah, it is really, really cool. So I'm
there's
excited.
some 3D. Maybe Aaron also will be excited on this Beyond. There was some 3D camera NFT, so you can go inside and. So I think
cool.
you enjoy this stuff of hackery.
Oh yeah, I like the 360 stuff. It's challenging. It's not easy to edit. It takes a lot of computing power, but it's fun. When it's done, it's really cool. In fact, I just was at the swimming pool on Sunday. I've got a waterproof case right here, and so I was I took one of my 360 cameras underwater for a water test because we got a big, huge zoo here with a cool aquarium. And I'm trying to talk to them about letting me put the 360 camera in the aquarium with all the sharks and filming down there so that you'll be able to put on a headset and be swimming with the sharks, hopefully. So, and then can make that into an NFT.
Yeah, sell the experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or tokenize it at least.
All right.
Yes.
Do any of you have anything more to say? Because we are hitting about hour and a half here, and we should probably wrap for today.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Really glad that we got to cover everything that we covered. Yeah, I encourage anybody to reach out on the PSF Telegram channel if you want more information about anything that we've covered here.
And yeah, check out psfoundation.cash, fullstack.cash, chat.fullstack.cash if you want to play around with the pay to write stuff. And yeah, yep, pointing right there.
So over there.
Yeah, there you go. It's always reverse. It's always reverse. And yeah, we'll be putting a bunch of stuff in the show notes today so you can check it out. If you have any questions, please hit us up in the Telegram, and or we do take carrier pigeon, so you can hit us up that way as well. All right, everybody, we will see you next time. With that, I'll see you guys later, and I'm going to hit the transition for the outro.